Hello and welcome to the Lockdown Coder, coming from Sydney, Australia. Lockdown in July 2021 because of COVID, and we're in our third week of lockdown. Numbers aren't great, so it looks like it might be extended again. And so today, whilst we did the console yesterday, console.log, inspired by the print statement in Python, we are going to look at a function because I did a function yesterday and really hadn't told you anything about it. So let's do functions today. Remember, bring up Chrome, bring up the dev tools, which you should be familiar with by now. You can bring this up within any web page. Just hit F12 or Command Option I on a Mac, or Control click Inspect. I'm going to hit F12. And I don't know if I told you about this before, the three dots on the right hand side at the top. If you click that down, you'll see a command called dockside, which can tell you where to dock the window. So I am generally doing this on the right hand side because I want to, but you could do it anyway. And also remember, the filter should be on info only, so uncheck errors and warnings, but when you finish, put them back again, because especially if you're developing anything and you're a beginner, your error is going to come up here. If you only put info, you're not going to see errors and warnings. You may see this, but so it's useful, but we do it because we don't want the errors and warnings to come up when we're coding here. So we're doing things sufficiently simple enough to be able to code in Chrome right now. We may change to something like Replit or VS Code, but not for now. So functions. So what is a function? JavaScript. Uncaught syntax error, unexpected identifier. So Chrome and software generally isn't very intelligent these days. Maybe in 10 years' time I could actually type that in and it will actually tell me. What do you reckon? Then we'll be getting into the realms of Terminator, and yeah, that's probably not a good thing. So what is a function? Well, a function is just an action, really. It's a doing thing. Like, remember when you did English at school and they taught you about verbs, adjectives, nouns? Well, a noun is a thing, so in computing terms it would be an object. A verb is an action, so in computing terms it's a function. So if you think of a thing, like a complex thing that can do stuff, all the stuff it can do is kind of functions. So a toast would be a toast. A toaster would be able to toast stuff. Okay, so it might have one function, toast. But it might have an eject function, I guess, if you were kind of modeling this in code. And it might have a function to set the toasting, whatever you call it. I can't think of the word. The number. So if you want like burnt toast, you set it to 5, and if you want untoasted toast, you set it to 1. It might have a defrost option, so that might be a property on the object. But a function, well, shall we do a toaster? Shall we do a toaster? No, let's not do a toaster. Let's just do an add function because it's easier. I'll often build a calculator with students because calculators are like super easy to build. You can build a calculator like the Windows calculator or the Mac calculator in a few minutes, literally. And if you wanted to build a mobile application, you could just add an interface to it, and it's like super easy. So functions to demonstrate that are good. So an add function, got it, I've talked for a long time. Add, what we want it to do is this, adding two numbers together, because today we'll do this, tomorrow we'll so we can add any number of numbers together. But a function that adds two numbers together, well, let's say if I wanted to add 1,500 to 2,267. Now that, if I type that in and I hit enter, that should give me the answer. Of course, I haven't written the add function now. And if I type in AD, there's no add here, right? It's not in memory, okay? But I'm just demonstrating this. This is what we want to happen, okay? When I hit enter, I want the answer, which is going to be 4,157. Add is not a function. Of course it's not. We haven't written it. Let's write it quickly, because I'm almost running out of time. Let's write it. So with a function, you start with the keyword function most of the time. Yeah, most of the time you'll also have a name. JavaScript is very versatile, very dynamic. So you can do so many things differently. But our function is called add, and you always have parentheses after this, and then that's the sort of function prototype, the name, how you declare it. You say function space the name, which is add, and parentheses. After that comes the function block, the block of code, which is the code inside the function that will execute when you run the function, which we tried to do earlier and it didn't run because the function didn't exist. So you go bracket, squiggly bracket or brace, okay? And then you go, this is really cool because like tab key works inside here. So it's so great. When you write code inside a function or inside a code block, more specifically or more accurately, always indent the code. So you know that code is inside that code block, right? So it's inside function. Don't put the code alongside the F here, because when you read it, it's harder to see. And when you're dealing with systems that are like hundreds and hundreds of lines long, you want it to be formatted correctly. So you will thank me for telling you this right now. Okay, so add. We also, well, we'll come to that in a minute. So we're going to go return A plus B. Okay. Oh, goodness me. All right. So if that happens, just go Shift Enter. Finish. Right, done. Now, there's obviously a flaw with this, but we'll find out in a minute. Basically, the code inside there is correct. I'm returning the answer of two numbers added together, A plus B, and those two numbers could be anything. Okay, now it's in memory. I've hit enter, so I'm going to test it out. I'm going to add. You see that? It's there now. I'm going to get add. What do I have? 1,500 plus 2,567. And excellent. So A is not defined. Reference error A is not defined. So it's not giving me an answer. It's giving me an error. So let's go and have a look at our function again. The nice thing about this is we go up arrow, and there we are. A is not defined. Of course, A isn't defined. I didn't define it as a variable. You can't just say A. JavaScript is not that clever. Go, oh, I know what you mean. A number. No. We're going to pass in to the function. The function is expecting two numbers, okay? So we have to give it two numbers. So we call the numbers A and B. So A comma B. Now, a function could expect many parameters. It could expect more than that. It could be C, comma D, comma E, comma Z, comma banana, comma fruit, comma space invaders. All right, so you get the point. But we only want two things passed into this function when we call it. And in the code block, and when we return A, well, A is this A here, and B is this B here. So we're going to return the sum of what's passed in. Easy, hey? So now return, and this whams or whaps or smacks the old add function, and now Chrome recognizes this function as the new add function. Sorry, just taking a sip of tea. And now we can run it again. Add. And look at that. It tells you it's expecting a number here. Well, it doesn't tell you expecting a number, but it's expecting what we call a parameter or an argument to the function. It takes 2 arguments. Now we have to supply them. So that's the first one, 1500, comma. Now it tells you it's expecting B. So I can put a space here if I want. It doesn't matter. To white space means nothing. To the computer, white space is nothing. I'll just get rid of it. So it's easy to format stuff nicely. 2567. Now it does it. It can actually work out the answer. So if I hit enter, there you go, 4067, and there's your add function. Now the flaw that some of you might have guessed is, what if I wanted to add 3 numbers, comma C? There's no C. There's only A and B. So if I wanted to add, say, 300 as well, it's not going to work. But funnily with JavaScript, it's not going to error because it's just going to ignore this 300. So it's still going to return A plus B. So tomorrow we're going to work out how we can add a whole list of numbers together. Any amount of numbers. Okay. So this has been the Lockdown Coder. Stay safe, everyone. Until tomorrow. Goodbye.